Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Alex's Afternoon Art Show. Today I'm drawing Black Canary, and this is attempt number 2 at this, because I attempted to draw Black Canary before Christmas, and that was whenever I had intended on having a drawing on New Year's as well, but I chose not to do that because the Black Canary drawing was not very good. It looked real bad. So this is attempt number 2 where I've redone it from scratch, and I think it's better. I think it's a lot better. The last one was real bad. The head was all wrong. Everything was wrong. It was a lot more zoomed in. This one's a little bit more zoomed out. You'll see in a minute, anyways. But yeah, as I said at the end of the previous episode, if you've got any suggestions, I'll hear them. Just leave a comment and I'll read it. Probably. No guarantees on whether or not I'll actually do whatever you suggest, but I'll definitely see it at least. Probably. I shouldn't make promises like that. I'll have a look. If I respond, you'll know I've seen it. Or if I like, you'll know I've seen it. But yeah, if you want to leave a suggestion of a character you'd like to see me draw, there's no harm in doing it. I'll accept it. Again, I'm not necessarily going to actually do it, but, you know, it's an option. You can do it. I never said you couldn't, but I'm explicitly saying you can now. So, yeah, if you do want to see a particular character being drawn by me, you can leave a suggestion and I'll consider it. So, yeah. Alright, on with the video. Okay, so this is what I got. So as I say, this is a lot more zoomed out than it was before. Before it was kind of cropped more here, just under, just about the beginning of the thigh was where I cropped it originally. And it was obviously much more zoomed in, so top of the head was touching more of the frame, then this was obviously, so it'd be about here to here, that would then kind of be, so yeah, everything was a lot bigger. So I've done this a lot more zoomed out for a reason which is probably somewhat obvious by now, which is that obviously I've not done the fishnets. And so our thing that we're doing today is patterning. That's what we're going to be talking about. So I have pattern brushes that I use occasionally. I kind of forget actually where I got them because they were bought for me. But I forget what pack they were in. They were from True Grit, if memory serves. But I don't remember exactly because I haven't actually looked at the site before. But yeah, anyways, they're good brushes. I recommend them. But yeah, I'll be showing those off after I've completed the details. But yeah, I'll do a pattern on the background as well. However, I'm not certain as to what I'll do with that. Now, I might have to warp the pattern which I put on the legs, because the thing which happens with fishnets is that the spacing in the netting isn't necessarily consistent. Whereas the pattern that I'll be using is a completely consistent pattern. So we'll see how it looks. I might leave it as completely consistent just for, you know, my own sanity, but I'll consider maybe warping it a little bit so the spacing is, so that it forms effectively like a kind of like a 3D-ness to the leg. So I'll consider that, but largely it's not necessarily something that I'm 100% striving for here. But I'll put a little bit of a pattern on the background. It's not going to be a full pattern all the way. I'll probably get one of my airbrushes and just kind of remove some of the middle from it so that there's a kind of a clean shape behind her. So yeah, it emphasizes her shape a little bit more. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah. Is there anything else I really need to go into? I don't know that there necessarily is. Again, I'm still a little under the weather, like last time, so I'm kind of trying to lower the amount of speaking that I have to do because my voice is still tired. So yeah, I think the color that I'll probably end up doing on the back is probably like a yellow color or something like that. Something simple. Something to emphasize the bluey tone that I'll be using on the black. I'll be using a kind of bluier tone on the black, and then the background, yeah, I'll probably use a yellow. Yellow probably seems better to me. What else is there? Yeah, I suppose one of the things which I thought that maybe is worth mentioning is the fact that Black Canary's design is, I think, the least consistent thing I've ever seen in my life. So what I've gone for is the sort of classic one. This is, I think, also the design they sort of have now. I don't know, because there's about 6 of them that I've seen. Whenever I was looking at the Google images, I saw about 6 different ones. There was one which was a zipped bodysuit. There's one without the jacket. There's one with the blue jacket. There's one where it's like armory. I think that one's from the Injustice comics. I don't remember. It's not how she looks in the games, but in, I think, the Injustice comics, she has a weird design whenever she first appears. But yeah, there was that one, which is a lot. There's, yeah, there's a few. There's the, oh god, there's ones which have a blue bodysuit and a black jacket. One with a black jacket, or a blue jacket and black bodysuit. Varieties that never end. But yeah, she's one of those DC characters who, unlike, I suppose, yeah, the two polar examples of this would probably be Batman and Superman. Batman's design changes. There's a lot of variety in Batman's designs, whereas Superman's designs tend to be reasonably consistent. But yeah, as I say, with like Batman designs, you get, like, even if you look at the movies, the designs are wildly varying. But Black Canary would probably be on that layer. Like Batman, of where her designs tend to kind of vary quite wildly. This is more of the kind of classic design of where it's just bodysuit, jacket, both black, fishnets. That's basically it. Sometimes it's a blue jacket, black bodysuit. Sometimes there's like blue leggings, and then there's the fishnetting pattern over them. And that's how it looks. There's a lot of different things that people tend to go for, is the point I'm making here. But yeah, I don't know if there's necessarily anything else I need to go over here before I begin. Yeah, I think that was it. I think I just kind of wanted to maybe touch on the fact of all the designs. But yeah, I used the Frankenstein method with my referencing this time, and the Frankenstein method is just simply getting multiple reference images and kind of hodgepodging them together to form something new, because you couldn't find a particular reference image which had the pose that you wanted. Which, in my experience, is becoming more and more frequent, is that I can't find the poses that I want, because the poses that I want are a little bit more dynamic nowadays. And a lot of, I tend to use stock photos for my reference, but and a lot of stock photos are kind of stiff. So I tend to try and hodgepodge some stuff together to get a little bit more dynamic shapes out of them. Now this is a bit of a strange arm. Realistically speaking, the arm should come up like here, but I decided to put it over a little bit. So this is a bit of an awkward pose for someone to be doing, but I don't know. Like, doing that is somewhat awkward. You would normally do that if you're going to have your arm up like that, but it's fine. I think it's fine. It does look a little weird, but like, to have the hand on the hip and then, well, you would realistically, because she's kind of bend comes in here, the kind of body curve. So the hand's on the hip there, and that's where the hip comes out. So largely, if the hip is coming out, then this part's coming in, and that's where the arm is going out. So yeah, no, that makes a degree of sense. If she's kind of pushing herself out a little bit, that makes a little bit more sense if the arm is coming out like that. No, there is actually a degree of logic to it somewhere in there. But yeah, I had to have a think about it though. Now I've been rambling for nearly 10 minutes, so I will actually start doing this. But yeah, yes, I'll begin, I'll do the details, and then I'll be back to walk through the patterns. I hope people actually enjoy the rambling, because there's a hell of a lot of it. Anyways. Okay, I'm back. That is our details done. And yeah. So, something which I felt like pointing out is the fact that this looks a little proportionally strange. And the reason why it looks proportionally strange is the jacket. So, the jacket adds, because the way that I draw it is that it adds this little bit of shoulder padding. I also decided to do the underlining base layers a little bigger here because I knew I was going to be covering it with the jacket anyways, and the idea being that the jacket, kind of, because it's a jacket, it'll make her look a little bigger on the top, and because obviously she's not really wearing anything elsewhere, the rest is quite kind of normal proportion wise, but obviously up here this is looking a little bigger because of the jacket. The jacket kind of adds a little bit more kind of shoulder and arm because it's obviously bunched up, and then being pushed up it kind of crumples and then gets thicker looking around those areas where it's being folded a lot. But yeah, so just another thing which I wanted to point out is the fact that I've been going for as long as the last recording lasted, and I'm only just done the details now. So, right. So, if memory serves, we need to go and use the beat tones, and these take a second to load. Any of these brushes take a second to load because they are very big. Well, not necessarily big, but they're very high fidelity. So, we are going to want one of the cross-hatched ones, which should be around here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to want ones which have a bit more of a complete line to them. Gonna make it very big. Just do that. How's that looking? It's a little too much, I think. I think we want it to be bigger but thinner. That's about right, I think. More or less. And the problem is, again, that we're dealing with like kind of incomplete lines here, because that's the way that it's thinned out. That's kind of the nature of this brush. Excuse me. It's just kind of the nature of this brush. Remember that, just for my own sake. Let's see, how does this one look? This is a smaller. We prefer this because it has a bit more of an obvious patchiness to it because of the nature of the texture that we're overlaying here. Because again, it's got these kind of blank bits. I think we'll maybe go with the other one because the other one was bigger. I think I'll go with the other one. The other one was bigger. This is the same one I just put on. My brain's failing me. Go with this one and then bring it up because this is bigger. This is kind of what we want. And again, the kind of patchiness is a little bit less apparent. Now, again, we will see about maybe adding some warp into this after I've cleaned it up. It takes about 5 seconds to just remove all this stuff. I think I'm going to leave this at maximum opacity. Normally whenever I do one of these patterns, I wouldn't leave it at maximum opacity because I'd want it to seem a little bit, I'd want it to kind of blend in a little bit more with the colors, but that's not really what I want here. That's not necessarily the nature of this texture, because the fishnets are obviously very dark. The actual netting is going to be dark, so changing the opacity here makes no real difference. So it's not necessarily important, or it doesn't really matter whether or not I do change the opacity of it. Now, that's looking okay, I think, but again, we're dealing with this obvious patchiness. So out of curiosity, tell you what, out of curiosity, I will have a look and see about adding warp to this. Now, what we're going to do is need to do that. I think. No, that's not how you do the warping. I'm gonna undo this. Don't apply that. I'll have to zoom in here so we're getting better fidelity on this. So I forget which of these I had to do. Distort? Distort doesn't do it. Distort doesn't appear to be doing it. Skew. Skews more for perspective. That's not really what we want here. Perspective. What is perspective going to do for us? Perspective is the same thing, really. That makes no difference. Warp really is the only thing that we got, huh? Right, well... Let's see how this looks. Now we're doing it across the whole thing when it would probably be advisable to do it on a layer by layer. Or it would be probably advisable to do it on a leg by leg basis, but I'm just curious to see how this looks more so than actually doing it, because I don't think we are going to commit to this, to be honest with you. I don't think I'm actually going to commit to this because I'm not too keen on it as things go. So let me have a look at this. Let me apply it and have a look. Makes no real difference, to be honest with you. It makes basically no difference, really. It just kind of makes it bigger. So I think we're going to leave it as is. Now again, as I say, doing the warping and all that stuff is a massive pain. It's tremendously difficult to actually get that right, to add the perspective to it, which is part of why I gave up on doing the background when it came to the Black Cat one, if you remember that one. I kind of gave up on doing the background with that, with the multi-point perspective, because of the, as soon as my brain catches up, the patterns, the brick layer, I kind of gave up on that because of, oh god, my brain is fighting me. I kind of gave up on doing the brick layering and stuff like that because of having to do the different perspective for each individual side of the brick. So I figured it would be just a better use of my time to just do a simpler background as opposed to spending all day doing a really complicated one, which realistically speaking isn't going to make a difference to anybody. So that's what I did. And here it's kind of the same thing. I could leave the fishnet pattern exactly as is, and it would really make no difference. Or I could leave it exactly as is, and it might someone might think, oh, it could stand to maybe have been had a little bit more, you know, 3D-ishness to it. Or I could spend basically all night doing said warping to apply a degree of 3D-ishness to it, and it would really make no difference to anybody. So that's where I'm at. I'm just saying screw it. I'm gonna veto that idea, and we're just gonna carry on with the colors. There was a few minor details which I made adjustments to during the what do you call it? The details, such as her eyes. I fixed her eyes. I thought her eyes looked a little weird. Yeah, there was a few other things which I was going to say maybe, but I don't really remember. Yeah, again, typical art show fashion. By the time the details are finished, it's already, you know, dark outside. Now, granted, it is winter. If it was not winter, it would actually still be bright right now. So, yeah. That is kind of the big problem. I did start this in the afternoon, as usual. I do actually start them in the afternoon, nor do they never end there, though. They never end in the afternoon. Anyways, it's nearly, it's 2 hours and 45 minutes into the recording, and I've still got quite a bit left to do. So, I will continue. I will do the colors, and I'll be back to do the painting. I think I'll just do all the background, maybe. I won't do the background in this. We'll probably do the background... yeah, I'll do the background at some point, but I'll do it as just part of some other bit, I think. I'll do it briefly anyways. It won't take very long. I don't think it'll be this section. It might be this section, who knows. But anyways, regardless of that, I'll be back with the painting, the painted shading, after I'm done the colors. Anyways. Okay, so I did the colors and I also did the background as well. I decided to throw that in there. Yeah, so I decided to throw in the same fishnet pattern as on obviously the legs for the background, but because I decided, or because I realized, well, that is kind of the whole point of this, isn't it, to do the pattern, so I may as well have a background pattern which is similar, if not the same. Plus it gives it that kind of, because of the yellow and the pattern, it kind of looks like sort of a classic newsprinty sort of thing, like an old sort of thing that way. But yeah, I just used an airbrush and then cleaned out these kind of semi-rounded edges. They're not perfect, they're a bit messy, but it's good enough. It's good enough. I decided to make her jacket a dark blue because I said, well, I don't want to end up in a situation where I've got this tiny little trims of blue on the jacket, and the jacket is then the exact same color as all the rest of the black, because if it's the same color as the rest of the black, it's going to kind of blend together, and whenever I'm doing the painting, that'll make it quite difficult. Like last time, whenever I was doing Mr. Sinister, and it's mostly the exact same blue. It pretty much his entire design is the exact same blue, meaning that whenever I'm painting over it, it's kind of hard to be precise about where I want the paint to go, meaning it doesn't form the nice edges that I like on it. I don't get to have the kind of soft edge here, but then the dark edge here. It becomes a thing of where I don't get to, like the bodysuit, I don't get to just kind of do the edges of the jacket here as sort of lighter and then the darker in here. That makes everything kind of blend together and just becomes this kind of messy sort of color mishmash, which I'd like to avoid. So I decided to make the jacket blue. It's very slightly blue, it's still really dark. You're not going to see much, it appreciably isn't going to be super different. It just allows me to get some cleaner painted shading in there. But yeah, anyways, I'll do this painted shading and I'll be back to do the I'll do the painted shading, then I'll be back to do the detailed shading and the light line. Okay, that's our painted shading. So I did the thing that I do occasionally, which is that I changed the layer type on the painted shading for the jacket and for the blue and black, so as to give it this sort of kind of sheen to it. And it's generally, the only reason I normally use it is when I feel like I've maybe gone a little too far on the regular shading. So for example, I set this to a hard light layer because it kind of gives it it effectively just kind of tones it down a little bit, and it doesn't change too much. It doesn't like blow out the colors too much, whereas on normal it's like it's too light. Like, let me change them both to normal. They're just too light. That's kind of the problem here. I've gone a little too far with the kind of the little white layer. So I set them both to hard light, so it kind of reshapes the dark parts to be a lot darker. So it's not quite so intense. It doesn't really like blow it out. So I set them to be a little darker. That's basically it. So yeah, so that's that for the painted shading. Now it's time for the detailed shading and the light line, and then that will be basically us. So yeah, I will do that now, and then I'll be back to do the gradient maps, and that'll be us. So yeah. Okay, that's done, basically. So I did the detailed shading of the white line, which means it's just time for the gradient maps. Okay, just gonna do gradient maps. Right, so first things first, we're gonna want to set our darkest color to be a bluey color. Kind of a bluey purple color. Somewhere like here. More like there, probably. Bluey purple color. And then our lightest color will be a yellowy color. About here. Probably brighter actually. And then we're going to want this middle tone to be a red. And about there. So we've got a bit of a sunsetty thing going on. Maybe even make it kind of pinky. Like that. But a kind of a warm pink. So it sits about there. I want this to be a little brighter than we might normally do with a gradient map. So make it a little brighter about there. And then maybe bring this a little bit up on the tones like that. This is literally as high as it'll go. Bring that up a tiny bit more. And that will probably do it. So let's have a look at that in overlay. It's a bit bright. Okay, right, let's try that in soft light. Okay, that should do it. It is making our blue look very purple, but when this is in 60%, it's not going to be as much of a thing. It's a bit of a purpley hue, I guess. And all our blacks along here, they get a bit of a pinky hue, so that's nice, I suppose. Get that, and then make this a luminosity layer, so it'll darken everything. Bring that down to 20%. Because that darkens everything and kind of deepens our colors again, brings them a little bit closer to what they were before. Then we make this one color burn. And this one can be 5%. Because color burn is very, very intense. Put the luminosity underneath that. Yeah, the color burn is very, very intense. It, as you can see, it kind of really aggressively brings things back to the colors that we were using for the colors that we picked for the gradient map. It kind of really aggressively crunches things into that. So now what we need to do is need to go and grab my texture and throw that on over the top, and that will lighten everything back up again a little bit. So we'll have our nice little hues, but it won't be so much that we can't see the original colors anymore. And yeah, we'll lighten everything up a tiny bit, and that will be a nice little final bit. I might actually make this, tell you what I'll do, I'll make this 25%, like that. I was thinking about maybe applying a second texture to the background to doing the double textures thing, but I actually kind of don't think I need to because of how intense it is on the background already, even though it's only 25%. It's actually incredibly intense. I don't know why it's so intense. I might bring it down to 20% even. 20% is feeling a little bit better. How does that look overall? How does it look on our character? It's still there, but it's a little less so. And of course, it does a nice job at kind of just helping to bleed our, helping to disperse the edges of any of our kind of gradients on the background as here. So it kind of helps blur this between the background. It helps blur the pattern on the background. Yeah, I was thinking about doing a double texture thing though, but I actually don't think it's necessary at all. But yeah, so that was my second attempt at Black Canary. I didn't get obviously this far whenever I did the first attempt. The first attempt I think I only got like an hour and a half into the recording, which I still hadn't actually finished anything in by that point. I hadn't really done much at that point because I'd been considering killing it. I've been considering nipping the whole thing in the bud since about the 20-minute mark, I think, whenever I was doing the first one, and I eventually did decide to just say screw it and just kill it. But this one I think is much better. I think I've done a little bit of a better job this time. Of course, I mean, I finished it, so I mean that's definitely more. And this is a 4 hour and 45-minute recording, so this is a long. Well, no, this is about an average length one, really. The 4 hours and 40 minutes is kind of average as these things go. So yeah. All things considered, it is about average. But yeah, I think this one's all right. I like the sunsetty color palette. I think it's actually quite nice for the kind of final thing. Yeah, I don't mind that actually. But yeah, I think that's us. I think that's all. I didn't really have much of the way of closing thoughts here. I just kind of wanted to just kind of mention those brief little things, bring it back around to the previous attempt. But yeah, as I say, I think this one's much better. The patterns, I think, definitely just made my life easier this time, because in the original version I was hand drawing the pattern on the legs, and I just thought, you know what, I have the pattern brushes, I should bloody use them. So yeah, that's what brought about this, is yeah, some patterns. But yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, I think that's us. I think there's no need to ramble on any longer. This is already a long enough recording as is. So, yeah. It's funny how how the fact that I made the jacket blue really does not come across at all at this point. It was, I suppose, a little too subtle for how it ended up. But yeah, so yeah, that's us. And yeah, like I said at the start of the video, if you've got any suggestions, I'll hear them. No guarantees as to whether or not I'll do them, but I'll certainly consider them. So yeah, if you've got any suggestions, I would appreciate you leaving them in a pleasantly worded comment. But yeah, so if you would like to do that, that's a thing you can do. You could do it before, but I'm encouraging it now, I suppose. Because I've got a big enough list, but who knows, I'll run out of ideas eventually. But yeah, anyways. I think I will do my outro and then I'll leave you. So, if you would like, if you like the video, I have completely forgotten my outro all of a sudden. I don't know how that happens. I don't know why it happens all the time. It's just a bad thing to happen. If you like the video, do whatever it is that you normally do. There we go, it's come back to me. Do whatever it is that you normally do, whether that be liking or not. I'd of course prefer if you did like it, but I can't make you do that. So, you know. If you do it, I'd be happy. If not, that's fine. Just as long as you don't do anything negative. But yeah, if you would like to subscribe, it's the same deal. You've presumably seen a YouTube video before, so you know where the subscribe button is. So I don't have to tell you. However, I don't know if that's a thing that actually helps or not. Who knows? It used to, I think. It is explicitly saying where the like and subscribe buttons were, but you know, they're below the video. Of course they are. But anyways, and yeah, if you choose to watch the next video, I'll see you next time. But with all that said, I think that is us. I'll say goodbye, and then I will leave you. So, bye-bye.